President Mahama has stated Ghana is likely to become one of the most efficient power producers in Africa by 2020. Speaking at the Global African Investment Summit in the United Kingdom, President Mahama said he's optimistic Ghana will have the most efficient power sector in Africa after the Millennium Challenge Compact on Power is rolled out.
Rwanda, in East Africa, your money will be safe, you will have high returns, and the countries and our citizens will benefit and will develop together. So everything is there, the areas to invest, the framework that is provides conducive opportunities, and you are most welcome.
Well, I'll just say that the taste of the pudding is in the eating. And why don't you take a look? Why don't you come to Africa and take a look? I mean, there's so many opportunities opening up. And just to say that Africa is not the same continent that people perceived it to be. It's a continent that is taking its place in the world. I mean, there are more elections taking place, open, and vibrant media landscapes, respect for the rule of law, human rights. And I think that a lot of the growth that we're seeing in Africa is a result of the democratic dividend that is beginning to pay off in all the countries we have. It's a continent that is made of 54 countries, and so often when you ask me if I know your friend in Kenya, I probably wouldn't know him because it's thousands of kilometers away from Ghana. But certainly there's something good happening in Africa, and I think that investors all over the world must come and take a look.
President Museveni, a minute.
Come and invest in agro-processing. If you don't want agro-processing in Uganda, that is, or in any other part of Africa, but I'm talking about Uganda. Agro-processing for my maize, I have a problem there. My fruits, my other foodstuffs, then invest in minerals, huge mineral potential, iron ore, nickel, adding value to them, apart from oil and gas. Invest in infrastructure, like some of the roads and the power, if we can solve the problem of price of electricity. In services, everything is there. And the cost of production in Uganda are going down because we are dealing with the infrastructure. So profitability for companies will definitely go up. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mizengo Penda.
Well, for Tanzania, of course, as part of East Africa, there are a lot of things that we share. But certainly one area that I would seriously urge the investors to look at seriously.
Subscribers of the National Health Insurance Scheme will now make upfront payment before accessing some services. This is because the Health Insurance Service Providers Association are suspending services. The service providers say the NHIS has failed to pay for services rendered for several months, making it difficult for them to pay their suppliers. Executive Director of the NHIS Service Providers Association, Frank Toblu, in an interview said they are not also dragging the NHIS to court. He's now joined me over the telephone for more on this. Frank, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Tell us about your intention to take the NHIS to court.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all your listeners. What is happening is we are actually going to court. That's because we are seeking interpretation of certain provisions of the Act that establish the National Health Insurance Authority. And what we are doing is, when we get the interpretation from the court, it will then inform us the next line of action that we would have to take. So basically, that is our position. That is what we have actually done.
I see. When is this taking place?
Our lawyers are already up with their documents, and they are at the corridors of the court, trying to file these documents with the judicial service, going through the process.
I see. Now, obviously, your members are not providing any health service to holders of National Health Insurance Scheme cards. How much exactly? Come again?
Yeah, say.
How much exactly is the NHI owing the insurance service providers?
Before I even begin to talk about the amount involved, we are all aware that the health insurance is supposed to pay within 4 weeks. But by convention and the volume of work at the National Health Insurance Office would actually not allow that to happen. So by convention, we are going 90 days. And 90 days has culminated into 7 months as we speak now. So, and now, but authoritatively, if all things being equal, we should be talking about the National Health Insurance owing for 4 months, but not 7 months. Because if we, by convention, we agree for the 7 months, then it means that they are owing legitimately 4 months. Now, when we translate that into monetary terms, we are talking about 216 million Ghana cedis. And if that is made available to us now as providers of health insurance services to the generality of the people in this country, we should be able to handle our affairs reasonably.
I see. What have you heard from the NHIA in terms of response to this?
Currently, as I speak to you, the NHIA is in a state of a dilemma because the Ministry of Finance, which is supposed to make funds available to the National Health Insurance Authority, had actually not done so as we speak. And that is the difficulty the National Health Insurance itself is finding it with the whole system. So what we are saying is that this money is mandatory, is statutory, and must be released to the National Health Insurance Authority. But then the Ministry of Finance I don't know the right word to use for the sake of genuity, reneging on their own mandatory services by making funds available to the NHI. That is the position we find ourselves in. They are beginning to tell us that they have to prioritize by virtue of the economic situations that we have in this country. And we, the providers, are saying that we don't want to understand the word prioritization at this level when the providers are not paid their claims from March up to today. And some are even dated back to January.
Have you withdrawn generally all services to the insurance card holders or those who have probably begun their treatment where the card could go ahead with it?
Now, what we're going to do, you see, for the lab we have for our own patients, because whether health insurance or not, we still have people we have to look after as who are equally our brothers and sisters in this country. So what we are doing is that we're going to give consultation services to the National Health Insurance Card bearers, and then we also provide some procedures. But when it comes to drugs, which we do not have control because the drugs are supplied to us by pharmaceutical companies. And then recently, the Chamber of Pharmacy indicated to us, that was from 1st of August, indicated to us that they were going to cut supply to all hospitals, clinics, and maternity homes in the country until we pay them. Now, we manage that situation up to a certain level, but the issue has come up again that they are not going to give us medicines again. So we are saying that, yes, for essential drugs, anybody who comes, the subscribers will appeal to them to pay, so that we'll be able to get those essential drugs and keep in the hospital so that anybody who comes under emergency condition would have something to go with. Otherwise, the hospital will be there without any drugs, and that will be a useless situation. So we are just appealing to the generality of the people.
Does this system include those on the capitation grant system, for instance?
In fact, as I speak to you, capitation, in fact, I don't want to go into lecture at this moment, but capitation by understanding is when funds are made available at the beginning of a certain period to pay for claims on behalf of a certain number of people.
Absolutely.
But this is also not coming ahead of time. It comes somewhere 22nd, sometimes 15th, sometimes even at the end of the month. So the capitation by this standard is becoming a worry to some large extent, because if by deed of this definition, capitation is to come at the beginning so that the person plans his services ahead of time. But then you begin to realize that capitation comes in the middle of the month. Then is it called capitation again? That is one issue we have to be discussing aggressively.
So it does include those service providers as well?
Say it again.
So those service providers are also a part of this?
No, you see, medicine, capitation does not cover medicines. Let's get the understanding clear. Capitation doesn't cover medicines. The medicines are billed at the end of the period when the subscribers visit the facility. So what the arrangement we are putting in place is actually for drugs, not other services, which capitation covers.
I see. Thank you very much for your time, Frank. Frank Toglu is Executive Director for the Health Insurance Service Provider.